the Freak Easy.
You gotta tell me when you're starting. Hey, you're hosting this week.
I'm hosting this week. I'm in the host chair. What's up, guys?
That's awesome.
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, man. I'm just excited. This is going to be a great spin-off episode to our normal podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is the episode where we're talking about Puppet Master.
A small percentage of the Puppet Master movies.
Part
Only
of them.
4 of them.
Part of them.
I watched
Less than a third, I believe.
I actually watched 5 of them.
Oh.
I did extra credit.
He did extra credit.
Check this guy out.
Funny story. I was telling him before you got here. I said we needed to watch 4. We needed to watch 4. In my mind, 4 and 5 were the same movie.
Oh.
So because they were filmed at the same time. We're jumping way ahead here.
In reality, were they the same movie?
In reality,
Yes.
they were the same movie. They were filmed at the same time. They are one continuous story.
It's literally the same thing over again.
Yeah, it's.
And we'll talk about it when we
we'll
get there.
get there.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't want you guys to spoil
But
it
also,
for me.
but also, like I realized when I was reading stuff that the 5th one was technically the last one, or supposed to be the final Puppet Master movie.
That's not how it worked out.
No, well, they went on hiatus for like 5 years, and then decided that they were going to just start making Puppet Master movies again. So,
But 6.
5 years ain't nothing in Phantasm time.
But six is a straight up clip show.
it's a recap of all the other movies.
There's about 10, 20 minutes of actual new movie, and then they just recap.
So they're just telling you the story to this point.
Well,
5 years later?
they're trying to align the.
They're trying to fix all the continuity errors,
Oh,
which we're
so it's
definitely
like
going to talk
Puppet
about.
Master Days of Future Past.
Yeah, there you go.
Does 7 turn around and ruin everything again?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
Yes.
Wow.
Completely.
These movies, man, I can't wait. Like, I've been so excited just to sit down and talk about these because what is up with the Puppet Master movies, dude? This was one that I had suggested. Like, when we were putting together the list, this was one of the ones I rattled off because I've always wanted to see these movies. They're kind of toy-centric. I've always thought the characters looked really cool for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the action figures from these movies for years. So, like, I wanted to see these movies. I wanted to know what they were about. And I feel like I've said this a lot since we started recording the Freak Easy. I don't know what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't what we got. Because, man, these... And the other thing is, like, I watched the first movie and was like, well, that's not what I was expecting. But then every movie after that made me feel the exact same way because they're just so different from me. Like, this franchise is all over the place. I have no idea what is going on here.
They go so far off the rails. The Puppet Masters. So the Puppet Masters are one that are kind of, they're a cult classic. I feel like a lot of people know about that, like I feel like they're, we've got Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and Chucky.
Yeah.
And then the Puppet Master. Not like they're mentioned in the same breath, but like anybody who knows the others, like if you say Puppet Master to them, they'll be like, I think that's like a scary movie, right?
Yeah, like the name's got a bit of that, like, it's got a bit of an iconic sound to it. And I even
it sounds like something you've heard of. Whether you have or not.
Sounds like something you've heard of. But I will even go as far as to say that the puppets themselves, maybe not all of them, but Blade specifically, like the main puppet with the
mascot. For sure.
He's the mascot of the franchise, and I bet everybody would recognize him at least as a scary movie guy. I've seen that on a VHS cover before. You know what I mean? It's totally got that recognizability to it.
For sure. John, how has your experience been with the Puppet Masters?
I don't have... I kind of feel like I would have been more shocked had this been one of the earlier franchises we watched, but I'm kind of burned out on being shocked by these franchises.
I get that.
Yeah.
But this one...
And not to say burned out in a bad way. I'm
Right.
enjoying going through them and all and stuff like that, but it's just like I've been more surprised than this. So when I go into this and go, I don't know what I'm getting into. Oh, mayhem.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I did kind of expect mayhem.
So I can't remember. I know I had seen the Puppet Masters before. Some of them. I can't tell you which ones I remember. Like I don't have any memories of like, oh, we always watched this one, or I remember watching this one the first time at so-and-so's slumber party, which a lot of the other movie franchises, especially the ones we've watched already, I have those memories. This one, I just, like, I remember knowing the Puppet Master's a thing. I remember seeing, I specifically, I remember seeing, like, 2 and probably 3 when I was younger. Or that age. I really got reacquainted with these movies. I came across a DVD 9 set that also
all
came
just on one disc.
Yeah, that contained most of the Puppet Master movies, but nowhere near quite all.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also includes 3 Killjoy movies, which is a killer clown series that
Oh yes.
that Full Moon does.
Yeah, I've heard of
about
Killjoy. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I've yet to
Season
watch.
2?
I've yet to watch it though. Yeah, I'll wait. We can experience them the first time all together.
That's a good idea.
Because I haven't watched those yet. But then I went and I watched through the Puppet Masters when I got this thing, and man, it did not connect any, like, sometimes you watch something and you're like, oh yeah, this. No, it was like a completely new experience when I watched through these all again.
I will say, if you had given me 50 guesses of things that would be included in the franchise, or even in the first installment, like, I might have gotten to psychics, maybe. I don't think I would have gotten to Egyptian prophecies or Nazis or any of that stuff.
Man, these movies have everything. Psychics and Egyptians and Nazis. Oh my.
Well, let's start the run through these. I think we'll have to kind of go movie by movie
Because they're so
because
They're
you
all
can't.
different.
Yeah.
I know what all these movies are, but they don't make any sense together.
So I'm gonna give the quickest synopses
that's all we
possible,
need.
and then we can go to it. The first one, basically, we get Toulon, who is being tracked by the Nazis, and he's got some puppets that move. And when the Nazis show up, he hides the puppets in a wall and kills himself. Then we fast forward a bunch of years, and we've got, like, 6? Is there 6? I don't remember exactly. 6 psychics?
Well, because one of them's like a couple.
Yeah,
But I don't think the guy's.
No,
full
I guess
psychic.
there's 4.
There's 4, and
Four
then
and the wife
4 and the
There's
wife.
4 and the
of
wife
the dead psychic.
Yeah.
of the dead psychic, and then the dead psychic.
Yeah.
So 6 people,
Yeah.
not 6 psychics. So these 6 psychics show up at this hotel where where Toulon killed himself, and the puppets wake up and start killing him. And we find out that the 5th psychic, the dead psychic, has been after Toulon, and he kind of put them together as a team. The reason they know each other is because he had gathered them together to try and find Toulon's formula, or try to find whatever
his secrets.
It
Right.
wasn't really like a formula in this one, right? Like they kept basically. It was like
it was like a
his
spell.
Egyptian
Yeah,
magic
like his
spell.
or something.
Yeah.
That basically was his secret. They were looking for his secret. This guy was looking for the secret.
Right.
Got all these people together. They disbanded, and then he found it, and then he figured out that since they're all psychics, they're going to figure out that he found it, so he better kill them all before he can.
So the puppets we have are
This is our main
Pinhead,
Pinhead. Yep.
Tunneler.
Second franchise with a pinhead in
Yep.
this season. Yeah.
Yep. This one's actually called Pinhead.
Yep. Yeah, I know. That's true.
Right away.
Right away. Tunneler.
Who has the drill on his head.
Yep.
Leech Woman, who throws up leeches.
Yeah, she's vile.
She's
I definitely wasn't expecting
Also,
that. Yeah.
what a weird way to kill people.
Right.
Like, I just don't
and
get it.
ineffective.
Oh, the leeches, no! Like, why can't you just pick those things off of you and just get up and leave?
Yeah.
How funny is it that Pinhead just punches people?
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
he's got those big hands. He doesn't strangle anybody. It's not like he crushes heads. He's just punches people.
Well, but that, they got the strong one, and then they got the knifey one, and then, drill head.
So,
that makes sense. But then
Blade. Blade
Blade's
is
the knifey one.
Yeah.
And Jester. Jester's the one with the face that doesn't do
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
The spinny face.
Yeah, did he
Spinny
really kill
face.
anybody?
No,
he
he
doesn't do
just
anything.
is kind of there.
emotes.
Yep.
Yeah, he emotes.
And then
So
Blade
he's
Blade, who's like the
the little kid with
mascot.
the heart ring. Kind of useless, but they need him.
Yeah. Well, I feel it's also
with the
super
heart
weird. But before we get too into it, because what about Blade? Like, all the other ones. So you've got Pinhead, who's he's got a little head and big hands, right? Mm-hmm. That sounds like a puppet. A little bit of an outlier because he just looks like he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
like a gypsy caravan.
Yeah,
you know, Leech Woman, who
is awful.
Is awful. Well, but she looks like she like Leech Woman and Jester. I guess none of them really fit. I was gonna say like, because why would Tunneler have a drill on his head? Like what?
Yeah. What part did he play in the old marionette shows?
Yeah, what marionette show does that fit into?
Yeah.
But then we've got Blade, who just randomly has like a knife. He's got like a trench coat and a hat and
a knife
like
hand and a hook hand.
Yeah, and spikes for eyes.
And spikes for eyes.
Like,
yeah, that's the
pop
part that
in and
always
out
threw me because they don't do anything.
No.
Yeah. Well, they always pop out when he's like, nah.
Yeah.
The little knives pop out.
That's a pretty good blade.
Yeah, that's what he did every time.
They make the best sounds, except for Leech Woman. Their sounds are gross.
So I have a theory, and after I present my theory, we'll just go to town because it goes completely off the rails after this.
Yeah.
But so when they were making this movie, they had to start at a place where they were like, what if we made a movie where a bunch of psychics come to a haunted hotel? That'd be a pretty cool horror movie. You can do a lot of stuff with that. And they were like, well, yeah, but ghosts are going to be real expensive. Well, what if we do monsters? Okay, that's still kind of expensive. We got to get stuntmen and makeup people. Okay, what if we do little monsters? But then they're just going to look like toys. All right, what if they're just toys? What if we just have little toys killing people at these psychics at this hotel? Bam, Puppet Master.
We got it.
Like that's how.
Movie.
Yeah, that's how that movie came together, right?
See,
There's no other.
I would have thought I would have thought they came up with the idea of like puppets killing each other, and they're like, all right, we got to come up with a story, and then after about 7 hours of not coming up with any reason for these puppets to be there, somebody was just like, I don't know, what about psychics? And they're all like, write it, just write it, and we'll film it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so in the beginning of the movie, they start out by making Toulon a pretty sympathetic figure, and they make his puppets look nice, or that he cares about them, even though some of them have drills for heads and whatever. You know what I mean? So they kind of set
and hooks and knives for hands.
Hooks and knives for hands, but like right away they kind of focus on Jester, and he's like the little sad one. Oh, well, something bad's happening, and they kind of make you feel like something terrible is going to happen to these poor little puppets.
Yeah.
But then the next time we see the puppets, they just start murdering everybody.
Yeah.
And immediately, like, I was like, okay, what is the purpose of the puppets suddenly? Like, why are they killer puppets? I don't understand why they are running through this house just killing everybody. What is the point of this?
The one had a knife for a hand. So
I know. One had a drill for a head. So obviously he's got to use it for...
Yeah, they weren't designed for...
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And so, they did the big reveal that the dead psychic wasn't actually dead,
right,
or that he did die but was able to reanimate himself using Toulon's secret, so now he can live forever.
Yes,
which was like his plan, I guess.
What he wanted all along.
What's what he wanted all along, and so I guess we're just supposed to take away from that, since he found Toulon's secret and utilized Toulon's secret that gave him control over the puppets.
I think maybe they basically
and that's
what
why
I took at it is they were following him.
They were following
like
his orders.
It wasn't even like
He's
so much
that
he took control though, but they just recognized him as
the puppet master.
The puppet master.
Yeah.
And so they were following his orders.
It took
until they didn't anymore.
Took a long time to get to that, but I was finally kind of like, okay, I guess that explains everything. But it was literally about that time where they just turned on him.
Yeah.
Because they were like, wow, this guy's kind of a jerk.
Well, he was kind of giving that speech like, these puppets they do whatever I say. They're idiots. They don't even, he was doing his full-on heel monologue.
Right,
or his full-on supervillain monologue.
Right.
And the puppets were kind of like, oh, yeah? Yeah? Is that this is the guy?
Yeah.
And then they murdered him.
And then they murdered him. Yeah. And
which was funny, too, because, and this will sort of be a continuing thread through several of these movies, but, like, they got to that point where they turned on him, and I felt like that was supposed to be a turning point for, like, the puppets, kind of, or, like, for the movie, at least, like, some sort of, like, kind of surprise that they turned on their master at the end, except that I went, like, they were... they were just wandering this hotel killing jerks.
Yeah.
And they just killed another jerk.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Man, it's so weird. And then that was just kind of the end, right? Like they turned face, and then the two.
Yeah, it's got the most anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Then it's just the one psychic who survived.
And the wife.
And they're the wife of the dead psychic.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, so sorry you can't stay. Well, I got to get back. Oh, yeah, well, you're welcome here anytime type of thing.
Yeah.
But then
they set up a couple of things.
They set up something weird here that they never revisited. So one of the psychics was carrying around a taxidermy dog the whole movie.
Right.
And
oh yeah,
so she would. So after she died, obviously that taxidermy dog was just hanging out there still. At the very end of the movie, that wife picked up that taxidermy dog and was carrying it upstairs, and then randomly the dog came back to life and started running around, and that's when the credits started rolling. So I guess we're supposed to assume that she also figured out Toulon's secret and was able to reanimate the dog with it. But they never came
she did
back
it without any ceremony.
Right,
any
no
kind.
ceremony.
She was just walking up the stairs and just did it.
No serum, which serum comes later. But still, literally, it was just a very WTF moment.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to take away from this?
They had set up the whole movie, like the main psychic being, I don't know, like affectionate's the right word, but sort of like a sideways love interest with the wife, and so then at the end they help each other out and they kill the resurrected psychic that brought them all together.
Yeah.
And then everything's fine, and then instead of leading into anything with that, they had to part ways like you guys said, but they still set up the fact that those two were friendly and everything was fine, and then that guy's leaving, and then they set up her having that power of Toulon for resurrection and to bring things back to life and presumably let them live forever and all that stuff, and that leads directly into the second movie where none of that stuff matters.
None of it mattered.
Yeah.
Also, didn't he turn the maid evil? The maid was his first kill in the movie, then she was helping him or something in that one scene. He reanimated the maid or something and made her evil maid. I did that movie was just.
I forgot about the maid.
It was bonkers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. By the time you watch all these other movies, you just forget about the weird details of the first one. How about that Leech Woman Tunneler tag team kill on the couple?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Leech Woman just starts kissing all over that dude, and he's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. Well, then she's leaving a leech. She's like, "Ow,
yeah,
ow,
yeah.
oh, it's a leech."
It was amazing. I think that was actually my favorite because it was just so ridiculous. I was like, this is exactly the kind of dumb stuff I was hoping to see in this movie.
And when they, at the beginning, the main psychic, Alex, was that his name? Mm-hmm. Has this premonition, and in the premonition, he's getting attacked by leeches.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw the leeches, I went, oh no. But then I stopped myself, and I was like, wait, they're puppets.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about leeches. We're going to be fine. And then that doll just starts puking leeches on this guy. I was like, God, what is going on?
Hey, I can't wait when we get to the third movie, when we get to come back to the Leech Woman thing, because that's, oh man. All right. Let's move into the second movie.
Movie. So the second movie, we are back at the Bodega Bay Inn, which is the name of the hotel, and now we have. And I'm not super clear. What are they? Psychic Not psychic. They're not psychics.
They're like paranormal
investigators.
Now
right?
we got ghost
it's ghost chasers.
Yeah.
But we also find out that apparently, even after Alex was super cool when he left, he then eventually went insane and had to be.
Well, I think they said they blamed him for all the deaths out there. And then, I think he tried to tell the story, and then they locked him up.
Oh.
I believe that's how that went.
Okay, that would make more sense.
That would make
than
a little
him
more
just
sense.
Going crazy all of
Yeah.
a sudden.
Because he was totally not crazy when he left.
No, not at all. And they referred to him as crazy real early, but a little bit later on, they somebody gives they don't explain it in that much detail, but they give a little bit more backstory about him being blamed for all the murders and then committed to this asylum. So that's just how I took it.
I guess I missed that. I guess I missed that.
Weird. Something made sense. In these
Wow.
movies.
I could be wrong.
It won't last. It won't last.
Maybe that's just me doing rewrites in my head.
Yeah, that could be.
So they come in, they set up cameras all over because they want to catch whatever Alex saw, right? So they set up cameras all over the inn, and then they started getting murdered. We get one or two murders. Two people get murdered. Two people get murdered because they
catch the puppets right away.
Well, they catch the puppets right away, but they kill the old lady, and then they kill that one chick's brother, which she's just super cool with. Because the old lady shows up, and she's a psychic or fake psychic.
She's a psychic,
and they murder her right away
immediately. Yeah.
But
everybody thinks she just packed her stuff up and
left.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
her son comes looking for her.
Yeah. But then the lead investigator, her brother gets murdered, and they just put him in the fridge. Like they're just like, oh well, Tunneler murders him, right?
Yeah.
And then they just put him in the fridge.
He was the jerk, though. Remember, he
was total jerk. But it's still her brother.
I know. You're right.
They're just like, hold on, we gotta continue our investigation here. So then.
So that was
a German mummy shows up.
Yeah.
Who claims to be Toulon?
German.
Well, they showed him resurrecting.
The movie.
That's fine. Yeah.
The
okay,
movie
right,
opened
right.
with them pouring green serum into Toulon's grave and reanimating.
The puppets dig him up.
Yeah.
Because when you kill yourself at a hotel, they bury you right next to it.
Yeah.
That's standard protocol.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
So. So we resurrect Toulon, and then Toulon shows up and just claims to own the hotel.
Yeah.
He shows up as a mummy, like completely wrapped up with weird goggles and a hat.
Yeah.
Right? And he's clearly like a mummy.
And a fake name.
And a fake name.
A ridiculous accent.
The most ridiculous cartoon German accent ever. And he just totally shows up and he's like, oh, I'm Mr. German name and I own this hotel.
Mr. German name.
But you guys,
which is funny because the name he said is no less ridiculous than,
or
no more ridiculous than
Mr. German name. Yeah.
Right. But then he's like, I guess you can stay because they immediately call his bluff and they're like, nobody's heard of you. You're not on any of the title deeds. The state said they own the hotel. We got everything cleared. And he's like, oh, well, I'm sure that will be figured out soon. You can stay until it is. And then he goes back to having his puppets murder all of them. and the weird Harbinger family.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
For no reason.
Well, they tried to explain it in this one that he had to harvest brain matter.
Oh, yeah. So he
had to harvest brain matter to make his serum, because his serum is what brings the puppets to life, or is what keeps them alive. So this is where we get the serum first introduced.
They had to wake him up because they were getting weak or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that, yeah.
Well, they needed to make more serum.
So
they used up what little serum they had left.
So
to wake him up.
Harvesting brain matter.
So he could make more serum.
Yeah.
So he immediately decides that this lead investigator chick is his wife reincarnated.
Yes.
And so he's going to put them both into big puppets. And
man,
these giant creepy looking mannequins. And then so he's going to do that instead of helping the puppets, which is why in this one the puppets turn on him, because he's doing his whole you and me and we don't need the puppets and his supervillain monologue. His mad scientist monologue.
Man.
And so then the puppets turn and kill him and set Elsa free. Although they do put the psychic lady. They put her into one of the puppets.
They put her in the Elsa puppet at the end.
So that she can take care of them.
Yeah.
And then they go off to murder children.
They go off to murder
children.
children.
I don't think they're going to murder the children.
Terrorize the children or something.
Well, I think the idea is just that we'll go...
Just suck their brains out?
I have no... I mean... They didn't make it seem like they were going to murder the kids. It seemed like they thought it was a good place to hide because it was like an asylum. It was like an asylum for kids. So if the crazy kids start talking about, oh, the puppets move by themselves, nobody's going to believe them. They're just going to go, oh, more crazy kids.
That's definitely better.
So they're just there to make sure that none of the kids ever go home.
Because Torch totally took care of that one kid in this movie.
Dude, Torch was a mess. Okay, so do we get all the same puppets? We get Torch added in.
Torch is the new one.
Which is so So at one point they come back. Well, actually, after they go and kill the Harbinger family. So there's this crazy these two.
Torch is the one that kills them.
Well, yes,
kills
Torch.
the lady.
Oh yeah.
Torch kills the lady.
Yeah.
But so there's these two just super redneck, just the most stereotypical rednecks you've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Who the old lady meets on her way in, and she kind of they tell her, "You're gonna die up there if you go to that hotel."
Yeah, they're totally the Harbingers.
Yeah.
Like you said. Yeah.
So Blade and Torch and Leech Woman, right?
Leech Woman.
Yeah.
Blade and Torch and Leech Woman show up to kill these families and harvest their brains.
Doesn't end well for one of them.
Doesn't end well for any of them.
No, I meant the puppets.
Oh, oh yeah, for sure. So Torch burns him up, and when they bring back the part of
the guy was dead already.
Was he?
One of the other ones killed the guy, like in the bed or something like that, and then the woman threw Leech Woman into the fire
furnace
and burned her up.
Yep.
And then Torch came in and burned her up.
Right.
Yeah, so Leech Woman died here.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Leech Woman puppet died here.
Right.
We lost her.
But when they bring the brain back to Toulon, the brain parts, he's like, "This is cooked. It has to be raw." Why'd he build a flamethrower?
A flamethrower puppet and send that one after the brain matter. How else did he expect that puppet to kill the person to get the brain? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So we don't really know it when we're watching this movie if you haven't seen the movies after this. But once you've seen the movies after this,
This one makes even less sense.
how out of character is Toulon in this movie? Like, obviously when they were making these, they didn't know where they were going with these characters yet.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, like, what we're going to see in the third movie happens before this.
Right.
And this is where Toulon ends up? Huh? That is way out of character. I don't understand it.
I don't accept Puppet Master 2 and the Puppet Master canon.
Also, I gotta say,
Puppet Master 2 is totally the Highlander 2 of Puppet Master movies.
Man.
I got real bored in this movie. So it opened up pretty hot because, like you said, they saw the puppets right away, and we got a couple kills early. But then I felt like there was a whole lot of nothing for so long. Like all the Toulon stuff, where he was like trying to woo Elsa and talk to Elsa and all that stuff. I was just
as a creepy puppet monster
checked out,
or
man.
a creepy mummy monster. Yeah.
And I was totally checked out. I was just like, where are the puppets killing things? That's what I want to watch. What is happening?
What about the scenes where he's like in his lab with the puppets and he's all like shambling around? And they're so. All I could think is it felt like he should have been introducing like a Saturday afternoon creature feature.
Man, yeah.
You know? Coming up next is the very creepy Return of the Killer Tomatoes or whatever.
That's what his voice screamed every time.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
The one big positive I would attribute to this movie was like the giant puppet monsters at the end they were trying to transfer into. Like those things were super creepy.
Man, dude, and when he got into it, that was freaky.
Super freaky. And, even for its time, a lot of times you look at the effects on movies like this and they kind of date themselves, and even the ones that are pretty good, you're like, well, that, it is what it is, especially 1992 or whatever. That's pretty good or whatever. I can't imagine doing like life-size creepy puppet monsters any better than they did right there.
They did great with
today's age. I couldn't imagine anything being creepier than that was.
Right.
And I mean that in like the best of ways. Like, well done on that prop.
Yeah, it was super creepy. Also, like, one thing through all these movies is I feel like the stop motion on the puppets is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, those are my favorite parts, is anytime we get, like, elongated scenes of the puppets running around and doing stuff, I suddenly appreciate the films because that's art right there, man. I love stop motion is awesome to me. I love stop motion, and I think they did a great job with the puppets.
I think they did too. I think the effects on these
I mean, that's obviously why there's 27 of these movies because people come back to watch the puppets over and over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, the designs are great on those puppets. Like that, they are for sure the stars of the show. We just don't get enough of that kind of stuff in these movies, and that's kind of always the problem.
They have to ground it, bro.
Got to ground it. Yeah, we got to with our psychics and our Egyptian curses. And
you got to leave them wanting more. Or you'll never get to 13 of these. Things.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Ugh.
All right, so
let's go on to the third.
The third one is where we get a prequel.
Yeah.
So we go back in time to World
Which
War.
Doesn't fit to either of the other two.
No.
Okay.
We go back in time to World War II, where
we go back in time to 2 years after Toulon killed himself.
Yes. Continuity errors about
2 years
man.
after Toulon kills himself, when he's still living in Germany and fine.
Yeah. He's still in Germany. It's still World War II. He's running a puppet show that just straight up has a 6-armed American cowboy shooting Hitler in it.
Yeah.
I don't know how he expected that to work out.
Yeah.
But it works out as you'd expect, and the Nazis show up to murder him and his wife.
Yeah. Elsa.
Who
they see Elsa, the real Elsa.
The real Elsa. Who gets murdered by the Nazis and then immediately put into Leech Woman. So,
yes. Well,
I'll keep going. We'll come back.
Yeah.
So actually, we have a German scientist who is trying to bring back dead German soldiers, thinking that if he can reanimate their corpses, they can march ahead of the live soldiers and soak up bullets, essentially.
Right. Actually sounds very Nazi, or very like what movies always tell us that Nazis, they're always about trying to find these crazy paranormal, ways to win the war.
That tracks. That tracks. I don't know, John, were you offended by this? No? Okay, good.
Not a
he wasn't a Nazi.
He's like, I don't want to cause any confusion to the viewers. But
German, yes. Nazi, no. Those are different.
All right, moving on.
That was a better joke than I thought it was. So moving on. So that's the only reason they don't also immediately murder Toulon.
Right.
Is because this German scientist wants to find out how he's animating his puppets.
Right.
But Toulon manages to escape, and him and his puppets start murdering Nazis and getting revenge.
Puppets versus Nazis is the name of this movie.
Yep. So we get a bunch of... So the puppets are just good guys, and Toulon is just a noble...
Yeah.
Noble...
This movie made
Well,
them...
I mean, aside from the part where he totally cold-blooded tortures and murders the guy who killed his wife.
I mean, revenge, right?
It's acceptable at that point, isn't it?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, total good guys still don't torture and murder people for revenge.
They do in movies.
He also befriends a kid at some point, and we find out that eventually the German scientist is also not totally evil. He did it for the science.
He's a science. Yeah, he's one of those guys.
Right.
Yeah, does it for the science.
Yeah.
And just happens to be working for the Nazis.
Undead murder monsters for Nazis. But he's doing it for the right reasons.
For the science, yeah.
So Toulon gets his revenge. He totally hideously murders not Rutger Hauer.
That guy was so not Rutger Hauer. Wow.
Yeah. And that guy totally thought he was in a real movie, too.
Oh, for sure.
The German major, who's like the main villain of the piece, he's the only one that seems to think he's in a real movie. And he's going hard, man. He is going hard at this German role.
But can I also say that this one felt the most like a real movie out of all of them? Because I feel like it did. I mean, killer puppets running around Nazi Germany. Okay, cool. But still, like, I don't know. Like, this one felt a little more... I don't know. Like, they really went for it with the war stuff, man.
I hadn't thought of that, but I can't immediately argue with you at all. So...
probably right. Here would be because I always feel like the first one feels the most like a real movie, and I think I say that because I feel like that one had the more complex idea. Okay, you're probably right. 3 is pretty straightforward, but because it's straightforward, it's like revenge, murdered wife revenge plot. the weapon just happens to be.
I will say it's super confusing coming off the first two movies and then walking into this going, well, what just happened to this franchise?
Right.
Because it's a very different direction for everything. But also, this movie changes the trajectory of the rest of these films.
Yes. 100%.
Which is it just like totally puts it on a different playing field after this.
So we also get introduced to Six Gun in this movie.
Six shooter.
I thought it was Six Gun.
I think he's six shooter. Yeah, the laughing guy.
So his laugh, I can't wait for you guys to see. We'll talk about it at the end. His laugh is from another movie. I'll mention it before.
Okay. All right.
And I don't know. Like I say that I can't say with any certainty that they sampled it and used it here. But it is totally from another movie, and you guys will hear it when I'll tell you when we get to the end.
Okay.
So Six Gun. Six Gun goes on to become. As I feel like he's he's on a lot of the covers after this. Yeah. So he doesn't quite take over a mascot role from Blade. Right. But he's definitely making a play for it.
And he was totally like the main puppet in this movie.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have Blade for most of it.
We didn't have Blade because he created Blade in this one. We got to see the birth of Blade. But also like this is another weird continuity thing because like he's clearly one of the main group in this movie, but we didn't see him in 1 and 2.
Right.
But when we get to Puppet Master 4, he's just there with totally the whole crew. He's like part of the gang. So like, from this point forward, he's just one of the regulars, and we're supposed to just pretend like he's always been one of the regulars.
Yeah.
I think they probably just figure if that's where we're getting caught up, we were already gone.
No kidding.
Well, Blade was a cowboy. And he killed Nazis.
Oh.
So maybe when they all just were like, hey, we're going to go kill people in this hotel with his psychic, Blade was like...
You mean Six Gun?
Six Gun, yeah. Six Gun was like, no, I'm not into that.
Not into that. Those aren't
guys,
Nazis.
Yeah, those aren't Nazis.
Those aren't Nazis.
You want to come kill these psychics with us?
Oh, boy.
I love when Six Gun or Six Shooter, whoever. I love when he's killing people. Every time he shoots somebody, it's like they look like real size, but like somebody getting like shot with a real gun.
Yeah.
But then whenever anybody's like inspecting the body, they talk about, I've never seen bullets this small. This is weird. Yeah. I'm like, man, this is not. No, those were normal size squibs. Like, don't do that. He shot that dude out of a window. Small bullets wouldn't shoot a dude out of a window.
Yeah.
There was, I think, I'm sure it was this one. There was a scene that I thought was hilarious on the effects side because, like, they meticulously do these puppets so well. Like, even the gun shooting puppet I thought was pretty decent gun effects. And then there's a part where I think it's the main Nazi, like, is like shooting after like Toulon or somebody like that, and they just show him doing this, and there's like no muzzle flare or anything, and then there's these gunshots that all sound out of place, and it's just like the cheapest put together thing you can imagine. Yeah. You're like, what? Like they just add this scene last minute? Were they rendering that on the way to the?
Oh man. So this movie told us how the puppets are made. Yep. Like they explained how the serum works a little bit, which by the way, we're like, this is where they start kind of talking about how like, it was an ancient Egyptian thing, but then there was also the serum. So it's like both of those things. Like he started with the Egyptian thing and moved on to the serum thing. And so like it's both of those things now. But they explain that like it's, all of his puppets were real people that he knew that had died somehow, and he was able to give them new life with the puppets, and now they can live on forever. And it's the human spirit that drives the puppets and keeps them moving forward. So we learn like that's all of these puppets are people that are like people that were killed by Nazis and stuff, basically, is what he was telling us. So that's where we learn about Leech Woman.
Which I thought was funny too, because like the German scientist was trying to reanimate actual people that apparently didn't want to live.
Well, like I really did like that scene though where like he reanimated the one guy who had shot himself and he just tried to shoot himself again. Like he basically just redid what ended his life, and then he fell down and wasn't animated anymore, and they kind of explained it as, oh, we need to find somebody who didn't kill himself, but somebody who was killed by the enemy.
Yeah.
You know,
like, were they only experimenting on suicide victims?
I guess so. I don't know. But man, the Leech Woman thing. is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because so earlier in the movie, he had presented Elsa with a doll of herself as a gift.
Yep.
So then later on, after we learn that these are like real people that are in these dolls, is where we see him taking the essence of his wife and injecting it into the doll that he made of her.
After he put the leech in it.
No, he did the leech after, right? Because
I thought he put the leech in first.
I don't think so, because
I don't remember though.
it was super weird, right? Because she looked like his wife,
right?
And he injected her. And when she sat up, suddenly she looked like terrifying Ring Girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what? Why would that happen? You know, why would she turn into this horrifying monster woman after he animates her? But then I think, because then he like looked up and saw the jar of leeches or whatever and like grabbed the leeches.
I feel like it happened for... But what... I mean, it doesn't matter either way.
But I just thought it was super weird.
It just makes it even weirder if he's now force-feeding his wife a leech.
Yeah, okay, it makes it weird.
Have this.
And then this is another one of those things where, like, looking back now at the other movies, like, oh, it's cool. So, like, when Leech Woman was, like, dry humping that guy right before putting leeches all over him, yeah, that was Toulon's wife.
Yep.
Or, like, when Leech Woman got thrown in the furnace and burned alive and Toulon super didn't care that his resurrected wife is now dead. Like, man, this is one of those weird things where, like, looking back on it, it's a little strange that you went this route with Leech Woman, but okay.
Well, but none of these movies play together.
No, they really don't. They really don't.
And that's totally kind of a horror movie thing where they just sort of like this sounds like a good idea for this movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're not create like any continuity in most horror movies is like accidental.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You're totally right. Yeah.
But this one is a pretty egregious. You know what I mean? Like
these are just three totally different movies.
So
that
different.
Happen to have. It's like all alternate reality versions of each other.
Yeah, really.
You'll see the good version of the accident when we get to the Halloweens.
Okay.
You'll see the good version of the accidental.
Okay.
Accidental.
I can't wait.
Continuity.
All right. So we're at 4.
So for 4.
Did you see the end of 3?
Oh man! So
they announce,
the
puppets will return in, like when bad puppets
go good.
When bad puppets go good is what they said the next movie was going to be called, and then instead the next movie is called The Demon or whatever it is. Puppet Master 4, The Demon. It's like, wait, that's a totally like I even looked at it on the app I was looking at, going, this is the right one. This is the right one, right? Because
and it's problematic because when you look at a list of those movies, you're like, well, several of them have numbers, but many of them don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of the more recent ones, they dropped the numbering on, it looks like. Because even one of the most recent ones is like a reboot, but like a reboot in an alternate universe or something weird like that.
The first 3
which we can talk... Yeah, I mean, basically.
First 4
basically.
Like all of them?
4 kind of follows 3.
And 4 and 5 definitely follows 4.
4 and 5 are the same movie. Let's just throw that out there now.
3, 4, and 5 are in the...
Yeah, basically. Yeah, okay, so now that we've learned...
3, 4, and 5 are the Puppet Master trilogy.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then there's just all these other Puppet Master movies around them.
Yeah, because the Toulon that we got to know in 3 and his puppets continue into 4 here. So 4 is like back in modern times, like after the events of number 1 and number 2, and we're back at the hotel. But everything that we just learned about Toulon and everything in the prequel is now our present canon,
right?
Yeah,
that we're going off of. And I don't know what was. So it's like a.
So we start off with a kid who is living at the hotel.
Living at the hotel.
So he's back at the bodega. We're back at the Bodega Inn Hotel.
Yep.
And this kid is living there.
Yeah.
And when we first meet this kid, he is just it seems like he's just playing with robots. We have no idea. Like he has a little laser tag with his robots, and he's like, "Oh, they still suck at laser tag. I don't know how I'm going to do this."
Yeah.
But then we find out that his girlfriend is coming. And when his girlfriend shows up, she brings another friend and the douchiest douchebag that ever bagged douches.
Right, yeah, that guy's the worst.
Yeah.
But also
he wasn't quite as bad as that guy from the Friday the 13th remake.
Oh, that guy's the worst.
Yeah.
But
they're on the same, man. They go to the same.
Well,
they go to the same dinner parties.
This guy was like
sure.
Vice douche.
It's worth pointing out that we've got another psychic in the house, though, because the girlfriend's a psychic. Not his girlfriend, but the D-bag's
girlfriend's friend
is a psychic.
Yep.
So here we are with the psychics again, back in the hotel.
Got another
because
psychic.
she immediately senses like bad juju in the hotel or whatever.
So we also have a woman scientist in the lab who gets a strange delivery that is a weird, gross little zombie toy, alien toy. It's just the weirdest looking thing, but it totally comes to life and murders her.
Yes. Well, we forgot to mention that the movie actually opens like in hell or wherever that is. With
I always forget how these movies open.
Okay, man. So when this movie started, now none of these movies have made any sense together, right? But when this movie opened and suddenly we've got like demons and brimstone and fire, I was just like, where are we now? Like, not what?
Well, so what about this demon? Like,
oh my gosh,
is he on? Is he on vacation from fighting the Power Rangers or what?
Dude, like, no joke. So, like, well, he looks straight up like a big puppet, right?
Yeah.
Like, he looks like a giant,
for sure.
like a marionette or something.
For sure.
And it's just the silliest, cheesiest special effects ever. And I kind of love it because of that. But, man, it is just so out of place with everything else in the movie.
It's kind of why I said we had to watch this.
I couldn't believe it, dude.
Yeah.
When the movie opened up and we've got this weird demon whose voice is also just like a normal guy talking. Doesn't sound like
and his mouth is like not a mouth, but it doesn't move or
No.
anything. He's just like
yeah, and he's just like, Toulon stole my powers, and I'm gonna get my powers back because I'm the only. I'm like, what is happening in these movies?
Yeah,
this has just totally gone off the rails. Like we've gone, man, every direction I could ever think possible with these movies at this point. Like we're just doing everything. We're doing it all.
Yeah.
So this demon sent all these little guys, which they called totems.
Yep.
To try to get his power back that Toulon stole,
right?
Because I guess his plan is to get it from the puppets, because the puppets are walking around. So I'm gonna send these things and kill everything and get the power somehow. It was never really explained.
It's never really explained. It's also never explained, or is it explained why he sends it to the lab? Why he thinks the lab has.
So I think they loosely explained it as because the kid is working on some theory or something.
Well, what we find out is that the lab and the kid are all working trying to develop artificial intelligence.
Right, and they've kind of accidentally basically stumbled upon the
Toulon's formula?
Yeah, like what makes up Toulon's formula or something. Because even when like when we get the Toulon stuff, like he kind of tells the kid that like, oh, you've basically figured it out, so you're the new puppet master now. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, let's get to that. So the totems so they send a totem to this random lady in a lab, and she gets murdered.
Yeah.
Then they send that totem or another totem ends up at another lab that looks similar and is connected to that lab. Like I think we get that much, but then they totally just kill that black guy.
Yeah.
Then the totems show up at the hotel where the kids have already discovered the puppets.
Yeah.
And it's who's he play laser tag with? Pinhead and
Tunneler, right?
Is it Tunneler?
Yeah,
or
it's
Tunneler.
It's Tunneler.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he plays tag with them, laser tag with them, and thinks that they're going to be the secret to finishing his project.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've got sentience, like the other things he was like putting.
Right.
You know, like they didn't have intelligence to make their own decisions.
Right.
So these things can.
Yep. So then how does Toulon, because then Toulon starts speaking through the other psychic girl, right? So the totems show up there.
The totems show up, they start causing trouble.
Yep.
That's where we start getting puppets v totems.
Yep.
Puppets v demons.
The puppets.
That's this movie.
They only kill the one.
Yeah.
They kill one totem, and then they start building another puppet, like the puppets are.
Well, because Toulon starts talking through that girl and tells them the only way you can stop the demons is with Decapitron. You got to find Decapitron. Oh my god, that was the name of this puppet that he never finished or whatever it was.
It's a real word that they really said.
Decapitron. So they had to use like the lightning storm and the serum.
They go full on
like just Frankenstein
in this
one.
one.
My goodness! And then they bring Decapitron to life, and when that happens, Toulon's head appears on its body, like Toulon's spirit is in Decapitron.
Matt, can you imagine being this guy's wife when he's making all these puppets? Like,
Dude.
got a vision for a new puppet. We'll call it Decapitron.
Decapitron.
Honey, just don't make that one. Just don't.
Well, then it pulls off it's called Decapitron because the very first thing it does is it pulls off its head and puts a lightning gun head on instead and blows up one of the totems. And like the most that little totem explodes and like they go flying. Like grown people go flying. Yeah. Like everybody falls down like as this huge I can barely even watch it.
Ridiculous.
And then that's like the end of the movie.
Man.
Like they cut to the demon down in hell or wherever. Like and like it freeze frames and the credits roll. I'm like, is this?
Well, you can't just gloss over when like the spirit of Toulon like pops up and just like dedicates that kid the new.
Yeah, he's the new puppet master.
Yeah,
You're the new puppet master. Okay, so we got to say that 4 and 5 were filmed at the same time, and they are basically the same movie. So 5 picks up right where 4 leaves off and continues the story, except that it's just the exact same movie over again. No joke. The demon sends more totems, puts himself in a totem, goes to the hotel, and does the exact same thing over again until Decapitron kills them all. It's the same movie. Like, I couldn't believe it, dude. I couldn't believe it. I was like, 3 hours these two movies are together. You did the same thing twice. Act 1 and Act 2 are the exact same thing. Like, there was nothing new going on there. It was ridiculous.
That's the thing, I was telling you, like, when we were deciding which Puppet Masters we were going to watch. I was like, you know what, we got to watch through 4. Because I knew you guys had to see the demon and how just how crazy it got in that one. I 100% remember 4 and 5 as the same movie, and not like they are the same movie, like as one movie. Like, not a 3-hour movie. Like I just remember them as the one movie. And when it got to the end of 4, I was like, hold on, where is this happens and this happens, and then like I was like, oh,
they all happen in 5. Man. But it's oh my god!
another
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, dude. So I the only reason I watched 5 too, like I wouldn't have even known. I wouldn't have kept going. But I started reading stuff about the movies, and I was looking things up because I was trying to make sense of a lot of the things I had just seen, and I was trying to.
First mistake.
I know, but I've done that for all these movies so far.
You're this show different than.
I know.
Nope. I love that you're doing that.
I did the same thing with Hellraiser, and I did, I don't know.
That's great.
I feel the need to go like research all this stuff afterwards. So when I was reading everything, that's when I found out that like 4 and 5 were just filmed at the same time, and that they're just the same movie essentially, just made over 2 movies, and that 5 was also like the final Puppet Master. Like that was actually like the title of the movie, or was going to be the title of the movie, and that was supposed to be the end of the story. And they didn't make any more of those for like another 4 or 5 years, and then they basically just started. What I read was that rental stores had such high demand for Puppet Masters that the rental stores were asking for more of them, and that's why those movies started coming back out.
Well, because like all of these were direct-to-video, I think. Like they started shooting the first one for theaters, and then figured out like they would make more if they just released it as direct-to-VHS.
Yeah.
And immediately became kind of like cult classics like that.
Yeah.
Well, and that was Full Moon's bread and butter, though. I don't think they ever had a movie go to theaters. I'm sure they did. And comment below.
Somebody will let us know. Yeah.
But I mean, that was like their thing. They were like the king of the B movie, straight to VHS. That was So,
man. Okay, so these movies. I don't know what else there is to say about them because we kind of expressed our thoughts all the way through.
Oh yeah.
So
they're insane.
They're totally bonkers.
Yeah.
And I watched the first one, and when it ended, I was like, okay, I didn't know what to expect. I definitely wasn't expecting House Full of Psychics murdered by puppets. But that was fine. That was enjoyable for what it was. Definitely had a B-movie quality to it. I was going in expecting that.
That's such a Hollywood pitch.
Yeah,
House
I
full
know.
of psychics murdered by puppets.
I know, right?
I'd make that movie.
I know, yeah.
Where do I sign up?
So after the first one, I was like, yeah, that was kind of cool for what it was, and now I know what Puppet Master's all about. I can't wait to see where this goes. And boy, I just had no idea where this was going to go. I will say that I'm pretty sure I enjoyed 3, the weird prequel one, for what it was. But man, I don't think I liked 2 very much, except for some of like, I liked a lot of the stuff with the puppets. I did really like creepy puppet Toulon at the end, just because of how out there that was. But the bulk of that movie was very boring to me. 4 and 5 was so off the wall bananas. I was just like, I don't even know. I'm done. I've given up. Like my brain has totally checked out on these movies. I don't even know what's going on anymore. So that being said, I got to the end of these and still started looking up prices on toys because that's how my brain works. And I was like, well, I need a Blade figure in my collection now. Yep. But turns out everybody needs a Blade figure because he's the one that's expensive. Everybody else I can get for like $10. If I want a Blade figure, I got to fork out like $70.
When were
it's
these
ridiculous.
Toys made? Like what line were they in?
They still get made, right?
Full Moon had their own toy line. It's Full Moon Toys. They produced them themselves. And I think they were produced in the early 2000s when all these toys came out.
Would just be like McFarlane's or something.
You would think so, but no. Like Full Moon seems to like really want to keep everything close. Yeah. Like they produce all of the stuff themselves and everything. So the toy line was theirs too. I have seen these toys a lot. Like when I go to toy shows and stuff, it's just one of those things I know that I always remember seeing Puppet Master stuff everywhere. So immediately after watching these movies and knowing about these movies, I was like, well, let me look up this Blade figure because I kind of like the look of this character. Man, he's expensive now. I guess everybody likes Blade, right. So everybody wants a Blade figure.
So I really like, I still like the first one.
Yeah.
I think the first one, and probably for me, because the first one has the most like classic horror movie feel and vibes to it.
It's the only one that felt like a horror movie.
For sure.
Out of all of them.
Although they still keep that, the second one feels pretty horror movie. The second one feels...
Not as much as the first. I don't know. All the cartoony stuff with Mummy Toulon in the middle is just so weird to me. Like, I don't know.
Like, at least they're still... they're still killing people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's some gore moments, but campiness is ratcheted up.
For sure. And when we get to 3, it feels weird because they're killing bad guys. Like, we're used to not liking the people that are going to get murdered.
Yeah.
But we're not necessarily used to like, oh, well, these are full on Nazis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where we've been programmed like, oh, anything you can do to a Nazi, they deserve it. You know?
Yeah.
This whole side show we've been doing here, I always had these impressions of all these movies when I was a kid and didn't see that many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm going back and catching up on these, like none of them are what I thought they were.
Yep.
And not just in like storyline, I didn't picture psychics and Egyptians and stuff like that, but even in tone, like because as a kid, all these boxes scared me. Well, like I couldn't look at them or anything like that, but I was always like, oh, I bet that's freaky. And so the idea of these movies was freaky to me. And now I go back and rewatch them and I go, oh, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are kind of supposed to be aren't really.
Right.
And even the few that I did see, like some of the Friday the 13th and some of the Nightmares that I saw, closer to that age that were really kind of freaky to me at the time, when I go back and rewatch, aren't anymore either.
Yeah.
So like my I just feel like my meter's broken on stuff like that.
Well, I don't think it's your meter. I think it's the perception. And because I agree 100%. And anytime I'm watching most of these movies and I think back, particularly to like, in the 80s when they were big, when we got all the, desensitization, these movies will desensitize your kids and violence and gore and evil demon worship, whatever, How many of these people ever actually saw any one of these movies?
No, never.
You know what I mean?
Nobody ever complains about anything that they're familiar with.
Right. Exactly.
Because to them, it was also the idea of these movies. That was worth
just the idea. You're right. Totally. Yeah, man. No, I totally feel what John was saying, though, too, because it's been the same way with me, and I said that earlier, that I feel like I've said that with every one of these so far that I didn't know what to expect, actually. Yeah. All of my knowledge of these has always been based off of the VHS box covers, seeing them in the rental stores, or just seeing imagery or toys on the internet and stuff, you know? Like, that's... So, like, seeing them it's been a lot of fun to, like, see how these movies play out, and... Even when they're not at all what I was expecting, sometimes they turn out like Hellraiser, and they're awesome. Yeah. And I loved it, even though it was not what I was expecting. And then sometimes you get the Puppet Master, which was not what I was expecting, and was totally bonkers, you know? So, I don't know. It's fun, though.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't. I don't love the Puppet Masters.
I'm gonna watch more because I want. I want to know. I want to know where else happens.
I'm not like head over heels for the franchise, but I do still kind of want to see the other 9.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, it becomes super. You're just like, where could it possibly go?
Where else can we go? Well, when I was reading the synopsises, it does look like we go back in time again, and we follow
there's a bunch of
young Toulon.
We follow young Toulon in Germany.
Aren't there like some
with like beta puppets?
Like some of them are called like Axis of Evil,
yes.
and then like Return of Axis or Destruction of Axis.
There's evil. There becomes evil Nazi puppets.
Yeah.
Yep, the Nazis make their own puppets in one of them, so we have like the Nazi puppets versus the good puppets.
Oh, so we gotta see that.
I know. And then what I was saying earlier, like the more recent one, the most recent one I think that they've done, like in 2008 or whatever, is like a reboot where they've retold the Puppet Master story, but now Toulon is a Nazi instead of opposed to the Nazis. Okay. So it's like a reboot and an alternate reality or an alternate universe is the way that it was is described, is like an alternate take on the Puppet Master.
Well, like going through the list too, like if you just IMDb Puppet Master, you get this giant list of movies, and again, some of them are numbered and some of them aren't. So you'll start looking through and you'll be like, this one's got Donald Sutherland in it? Oh, that's not a Puppet Master movie. And then you'll see another one, you're like, this isn't one either. And you'll click on it and be like, there's a picture of Blade. This is definitely one, you know. But good gravy. I have no idea what what all even counts in this franchise.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So, next week, I'm so excited. Next week might be my favorite week.
Are you going to host again next week?
I host every week.
Do you?
Yes. This is his show.
This is my show, John.
It is now.
Because
he's sitting in the captain's chair.
This is not the kind. All right. Next week, guys, we're going back in time to where it all started.
Ooh.
Puppet Master 3?
No.
Oh.
We did that one on this one.
We already did that one. We are going to do the classic Universals.
Yeah. This is another one that was recommended by some of our viewers too, and we already had it on the list.
Was it?
Yeah.
I missed that recommendation.
I've seen a couple times people have said things like, "It'd be really cool if you talked about the Universals."
We are going to do those. So, I'm looking forward to it. These are some of my favorites.
What's the watch list on this one?
Dracula, of course. Mm-hmm. Frankenstein, of course. The Mummy, Wolfman, and Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Sweet. I have never watched these, so this is going to be awesome. I'm excited.
It'll be a lot of fun.
They're so good. Guys, I hope you will join us next week when we are talking about the Universal. Go watch the Universals. Go find them so you can follow along. They're whether you're into horror movies or not, whether you're into classic movies or not, you should go watch them. They're a piece of history. And we'll talk more about them next week after these guys have had a chance to see them. Until then, you should make sure and join us every other Wednesday for our regular Geek Easy podcast. And before you do that, you should head over to Facebook and like us on Facebook and ask us a question. Who knows, your question might be answered on our live show.
Ooh.
Doing it live?
Well, I mean, like our actual show, not like live. Like it's live the same way Raw is live sometimes, you know, where like they record it live and then just say it's live.
Recorded live.
We did a live show once.
Yeah, we've done it once.
If you would like to find our audio versions, you can find us on Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, Apple's podcasting app. What else? I'm missing some. Right. Pretty much anywhere where you find podcasts, you can find us. Google Play is the one I was thinking of.
There's like a billion of them that are just off-brand podcasts that just link into these other ones anyway. So.
You can find our podcast anywhere if you want the audio version. Take us on the commute, listen to us in the car. That's what I do. Anything else?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Man, I'm getting this down.
Yeah, you are.
Except for the part where I just flow smoothly into like a finish. I always am like, what am I forgetting? I know I'm forgetting something. Guys, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. And happy Halloween.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of the Geek Easy Podcast.